That's how it's done, son. Today we're going to be building a rabbit tractor slash chicken tractor. We're basing it off of Kevin and Sarah's rabbit tractor design. We've made a few modifications and I'll talk over those as we go. We have treated 2x4 pieces of lumber in 8-foot lengths and in 10-foot lengths. The first thing we're going to do is rip them in half. Rip them is simply a construction term for cutting something in half and not like have a finished edge on it. We're just going to use a table saw to do that now.
2x4s are actually only 3.5 inches wide. We want to split those in half. So we're going to set our gate here at 1 3/4 inches. That'll split the board as close to the middle as we can and give us 2 even pieces.
Safety first. Keep a rag on hand for getting sawdust out of our eyes, sweat off our face, anything like that that we might need. If you're going to be making several of the same size cuts, it's a good idea to make a block stop. This allows you to just push your board up to the stop and then cut it, and you know your board is the right length every time, so you don't have to measure and mark each board as you cut it.
So this is our first tractor that we pieced together. We're going to go ahead and finish it out with the hardware cloth and wire to get it ready because the baby bunnies are getting big. So we got to get them on the grass.
And right now we have it upside down, so this is actually the bottom of the tractor.
Right, so this little area right here is kind of like their house. We're going to start with that by putting it in the floor of the house first.
All right.
This level, so we need to flip it back.
Okay. I would say we're probably a little bit more than halfway done with this tractor project. Let me show you where we're at. We have it standing on the back end, basically. We have hardware cloth on the 3 sides and the bottom. On the bottom, we've gone with 2-inch by 4-inch hardware cloth so the grass will come up through it and the bunnies will be able to nibble around and get what they need. We also have this raised area where they're going to be able to get up off the ground when they want to. This wood is going to just help prevent the elements from coming in. They have a 6-inch opening there that they can get in and out of the back house part. And right now what we have left to do is metal sides for the back of the house, the metal roof, put the door on, and put the wheels on. So Chris, what are your thoughts about this project so far? How difficult or easy has it been? What have you had to work through?
Well, I'm not having any kind of plans, just kind of going off the top of my head. And design-wise, we had a few missteps. We got those sorted out, and we went back and cut the pieces to the right length to make them work. It is time-consuming. It's very time consuming. It's not a short, 3-hour project. That it is definitely not.
No, is this our second or third day working on it?
Second afternoon. So, we put in a good long day. The first day, probably 5 hours or so.
Mm-hmm.
But we were cutting for 3 of them, so
right.
And if we had just bought 2x2s from the store, that would have saved us, an hour or two there.
Right.
But we saved money and sacrificed time. It's kind of one of those things that you make trade-offs on the farm. That's part of homestead. So right now, I think we're going good. We're going to get this finished today. The way things are looking, we got to cut this metal for the size of the house. We're going to attach the top with hinges, and then we're going to put a sheet of metal on top of that, and then attach the wheels. We'll be ready to try it out here in just a minute.
Okay, our first rabbit tractor is 99.9% complete. It's not quite complete for lack of two things. One, I would like a handle here. It's a little bit difficult to open with the metal hanging over. Two, I would like a latch to hold it closed. Sometimes we have strong winds, or if there's any kind of predator that came along and tried to get in, I don't want them to be able to do that. All in all, I'm really happy with this rabbit tractor that we've made. As I said in the beginning of the video, we based this off of Kevin and Sarah's rabbit tractor design. One of the changes we made was the addition of wheels. Those are on the back end of the house part of the rabbit tractor, and that's because after visiting Kenny Filer and pulling his tractors around, I realized I'm not really made for that, and it'd be much easier if they had wheels on them. We also extended the top of the frame out. Effectively, it made handles, and that just gives you a leverage point, and seriously, moving this thing around is super easy. It's really lightweight with the wheels and the handles on it. And that, if you think of like the Chickshaw design by Justin Rhodes, that's kind of where I got that idea. The third thing we did was, because our house kind of sits in a little bottom and we get rain and water that comes through quite frequently here, I wanted the bunnies or chicks, we can also use this as a chick grow out tractor, to be able to have a place where they could get up off the ground when it's wet. And so we made the back half 4 inches higher than the rest of it, and I think that those changes are really gonna be a good part of this design. Another difference between this and Kevin and Sarah's design, if my memory serves me, is we made ours slightly narrower than the 36-inch piece of sheet metal. And the reason for that is there's a little overhang on each side. That hopefully will just make the water run off away from the tractor rather straight down the sides. I would think it would preserve the life a little longer. We also started with treated 2x4 lumber that we ripped down, and wherever possible we put the treated side, because when you cut it then there's an untreated side. We put the treated side toward the weather and the untreated side towards the inside or towards away from the ground. So just to hopefully extend the life of these a little bit. Overall, I'm really pleased with this. It was 3 pretty much hard days of work. 3 probably 4 or 5 hour days, or 2 really long, like 8-hour days. They may get easier as we go along. We have most of the wood cut already for the second and third one. Once we've made a couple more and we've got a little bit more sense of where we're going and how we want this to look, we will share the designs with you, with the cut list, with the supply list, so you can, if you want to try this kind of tractor, you'll know exactly what you need. I'm not too sure of the cost of it. I don't know if I will have a breakdown of cost for you or not. If you're interested in that, I might try to. One thing that affected our cost greatly was that we had to buy a whole roll of the welded wire fencing with the 2" by 4" holes, and I think that ran maybe close to $55, $60. By far the lumber was the most expensive part of this project, but I bought enough for 3 tractors, so I need to really sit down with paper and pen and the receipts and kind of map it all out. If you have hinges already at home, if you have latches, if you have metal, this metal came from, it's left over from our house build, so we had zero cost in metal. And some of the cage wire I already had, the side wire we already had, so that was no cost. So your cost will vary somewhat depending on what supplies you already have at home, but we will put together a list for you so you could kind of get a ballpark idea of what it might cost you to do this. When we made the area for the bunnies to go in and get shelter, we talked about, do we just need a little hole for the door? How did we want to do that? And we figured out it was really easier to just make the whole bottom edge an opening. That way they have some ventilation. They also have ventilation underneath where the wire is, you know, that gap. There's almost 4 inches between that wire and the ground below. That'll give them some airflow that way on the hot summer days. In the winter, if we want to house them in that, we can just pile some hay in there or straw, and then that would act as insulation against the too much ventilation. But actually, rabbits do much better in cold than they do in the heat, and why wouldn't they? They're wearing rabbit skin fur coats. I mean, it's one of the warmest kind of fur you can get, and quite comfortable. And I'm sure they're quite comfortable in the wintertime. Enough of me talking about it. Let's see how Wesley likes it. We'll see you next time the rooster crows.